Check this. All right, three. You want to kick it off, or should I kick it off?
You kick it off. It's your podcast.
All right. I mean, last time I had the guest kick it off because she wanted to. So, but all right. Give me a few minutes. Why is my Discord keep going off? I'll cut this all out of the recording in a bit. But okay. Let the sound stop, and then we should be good. Okay, yeah, we're good. All right, so I'm gonna kick it off in 3, 2, 1. All right, guys, welcome back to the third episode of the hashtag Perspective podcast. Today, I'm your host Raj, and we are bringing you guest on the show who's going to be talking about esports. His name is Frank. Frank, if you want to introduce yourself a bit, go ahead.
What's up? I'm Frank. My tag that I typically go by is Paracane. I play competitive Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and I specialize in the fighting game community and esports in general.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So today we're gonna be today's gonna be a vastly different topic than last week's youth activism. So, all right, Frank. So, why don't you explain what it feels like to be a part of a esports community first?
It's a lot of fun, and it's growing at such an exponential rate that you can really call it an occupation at this point. I mean, back just about like 10 years ago, I mean, sure, esports existed, but it was more of a hobby. Sure, you can make some money out of it, but you always had like a second job that you had. You didn't do it for a living. You couldn't. You didn't have the support back then. But now and today, you have just like Fortnite, you can make $3 million winning the tournament for that. You can make a living off that. Sponsors, streaming's bigger than ever. Twitch, yeah. I mean, it's huge now. It's just a part of society.
Yeah, like even small communities, actually, like you just said, you're in the Super Smash Bros. Community, and the community, like it grew exponentially with the release of Ultimate, and Ultimate didn't come out too long ago, and it's that community is still fairly large now.
Yeah, the Ultimate community is, I mean, it's large, but it's not as big as something as League, Fortnite, CS:GO. The main issue, I guess, of Ultimate and the fighting game community in general is that there's not a lot of money there as there would be in the bigger esports. So it's actually more of considered a hobby. You can maybe do it solo, but you have to be in like the top like percent of Ultimate players. Like,
Right.
there's maybe only 10 or 20 Ultimate players in the world that can just do it solo. Because there really isn't that much money for it. Like, for example, Genesis 6, it's a huge fighting game tournament. It's considered what you call an S tier in terms of attendees. Over 2,000 Ultimate registrants were there. The winner, a guy named MK Leo, I think he only made about $2,500 for first place. Really not that much money for working so hard and being the best player in the world. And meanwhile, in Fortnite, you get last place in that big tournament, you make $100,000 compared to 2.5K for first. I mean, there's a huge disparity from the fighting game community to bigger esports in the world right now.
Right, but I think like some of these, like I guess some of these games have to do with popularity and how they blew up in terms of the entertainment community and stuff. Like Fortnite, like for example, wasn't around, but it blew up very fast, very quickly, and it's now widely accessible to people because it's free.
Yeah, it's
So,
free.
and
Just it hit the mainstream consoles. Streamers, very likable streamers, Ninja, Tfue, the names at this point, all have,
exactly.
just a huge following. I can't even speak for them.
Like it's a whole different experience between communities. Like some communities are more competitive than others, and some are more like chill
Yeah,
scenes
and
and stuff like that.
yeah, one more comment on the financial disparity. the biggest thing why the fighting game communities are different from Fortnite, League, CS:GO, etc. is only because Nintendo, at least for Smash, they don't really sponsor the tournaments. They, it's just pots that the community makes. So the big company isn't sponsoring the game, which is actually really surprising to me with how big Ultimate's becoming, that Nintendo wouldn't want to step their foot in that scene.
Mhm.
A lot of people have called on them to do it. I think it would benefit them a lot. It would benefit the community a lot. I guess we'll have to see what happens over time.
Right. I mean, speaking from myself, I'm not a huge like gamer stuff like that, but like, starting with all the YouTube stuff, like some of the people on the channel have probably seen that I'm doing competitive Pokemon stuff. I'm doing competitive zombie stuff. The communities are fairly large. Like I'm sure, and it's because they have likable people, likable streamers, likable icons, and the games are widely accessible. However, like some of the games weren't exactly at first made for the competitive scene.
Hmm.
Pokemon, for example, not made for the competitive league at all. It was supposed to be like an easy childhood thing. And,
Yeah.
people kind of grow out of a competitive scene, came out of nowhere because of the amount of numbers and stuff. But like, and it's a whole different experience. So it's kind of stuff like that. I mean, the kinds of tournaments I've seen or the leagues I've seen or and participated in, there's not been like a money kind of thing. It's more like, winner kind of either gets bragging rights on their channel and stuff like that. It's a lot more of a chill community in my experience.
Yeah, it's about pride. It can be about
Yeah.
pride. I mean, almost any game can have a competitive community. Like, you have people playing Pokemon and what else am I thinking of? Even just Zelda games, but they're not going against each other. They're speed running. Like the speed running community is a big example. I mean, it kind of just came out of nowhere. People just wanted to clear things as fast as they possibly could, and they turned that into a huge following.
Mhm. Huge following. Like the competitive scenes, I feel, come from fan bases, right?
Yeah,
if
correct.
if you've got like, it depends on the size of your fan base, how popular it gets, how out there it gets.
Yeah.
But like, I feel no matter the fan base, no matter the size, if you have a competitive scene that's friendly, that's full of good people, you're good. I
Hmm.
mean, some of the Fortnite community, like I think a good part of the Fortnite community is known for just being toxic, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, esports in general, the communities, Twitch chat, that whole meme, it's generally perceived as toxic at pretty much all levels. At some parts, there's always, some kind of Twitter drama, at least in the fighting game community. There's game chat, never typically a great environment. It's typically just because, over the internet, people will say things that they won't say to someone in real life. So people have
Right,
a sense
because
of
you have that
empowerment in front of a
you have
screen.
that yeah, that security from being behind a screen.
Yeah.
I
I think
mean,
that's just something that's going to exist. I'm sure, I think it's maybe died down slightly, but I don't think it's something that's going to really change, to be honest.
yeah, there at least at some level, like it is always going to be there. Toxicity is a kind it comes from competitiveness at some
Hmm.
point, and like it's always been there. It's just not been as prevalent as it is now.
Yeah.
Like that shouldn't discourage you from playing any games or being in a community because overall, most communities are great.
Yeah, I agree.
Like so far on my side, I haven't heard of a bad community yet.
Yeah. I mean, Smash has had its own plenty of drama already, but that's kind of typical at this point.
Every game's gonna have its own drama, but like drama's is bound to happen no matter what
Yeah.
community it is.
Yeah.
I think also with the fact that like we are kind of the first generation to kind of have and the first era to have these kind of esports tournaments and stuff, and esports growing as a whole thing. And
Mhm.
like it's a whole like there's a whole generation gap between us and our parents like about it. Like what do you think
Mhm.
about their view on the scene?
Yeah, I've talked to my parents about it a lot. Like when I started wanting to go to Smash tournaments, they looked at me like, what the hell is that? You're crazy. And I kind of just, well, my dad was actually more interested. My mom was just like, do whatever. I kind of showed my dad, the venue, how many people typically show up, what I'm doing, and he actually supports it more than I thought he would, which is actually pretty cool. But yeah, I know some kids have parents that are like, "No, I'm not going to drive you out to take you to some video game tournament. I want you to do something with your time." So the older generation is a bit iffy on it. Some are more accepting. Some, have invested and see the financial benefit that it can bring them. Take
Right.
Rick Fox for example. He made Echo Fox, the huge sponsor that it is now.
Mhm.
So people are seeing that the esports industry has grown so rapidly over the past 10 years. They want to invest in it.
Yeah. I mean, I like with my like and it also like I kind of get to speak from a foreigner family kind of perspective. My family, like my parents are from India. It's from foreign perspective, it's a lot harsher than it is. They kind of like my parents have at least like a lot of the time talked down being even a YouTuber because they're kind of like they kind of feel it's not even a job at this point. Even if you get paid, it's not considered a job in societal standards and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And it's kind of we live in a different world at this point from
we
what they
do.
live
Yeah, times change. People
in.
people now more than ever can sit in front of their computer and make money in some kind of way.
Yeah, and it's not like and from like my idea, like I get what they see, but like even from even as it be even as a YouTuber, like being a YouTuber in general is kind of a lot of fun in my opinion.
Hmm.
Like I'm an up and coming YouTuber, and I'm not even doing it for like the money and stuff. I'm doing it for my pure enjoyment. It's
Yeah, and that's how it all used to be, really, with it's just all of esports in general. No one did it for a living because you couldn't. There was nowhere near enough financial backing. You did it because you loved it, and that's the way it still is in the fighting game community, at least.
and a lot of the communities like I don't know if we can say I'm not sure if I can say it safely for Fortnite community because I'm not part of that community, but like the communities I'm part of, a lot of the people do it not for the money because there really isn't money involved, but for the enjoyment.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I think if you enjoy video games,
Hmm.
like no matter if you're a competitive player or not, maybe give your hand at the competitive scene. You might not know whether you're good at it or not, or whether you enjoy it. Sometimes it's a
Yeah, and
whole
even
other
if you're not
experience.
like if you're not amazing at the game, you can always give a hand at streaming. I mean, you look at what some people can do. They're not that great at the game, but hey, if you have a personality on Twitch, you can gain a huge following and make a lot of money.
And it's not even about money. It's like doing what you love. Like you
Yeah.
you may not be good at it, but if as long as you get to do that and provide entertainment, you're good
Hmm.
because you get
Yeah.
to show and express that you love the game. I think that's early on. That's what a lot of YouTube was about, being able to express what you enjoyed freely.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like oh, okay, like okay, and let's move it like slightly off topic on the esports kind of thing, but YouTube. Like, what do you think are the benefits of streaming as opposed to recording when it comes to like games and stuff?
Well, I think
Just
right now YouTube's having their own problems with YouTubers in terms of them paying them, copywriting. They've been on recently, and their streaming service isn't that great. That's why a lot of people use Twitch for streaming instead of YouTube. Just with the rise of Fortnite, and Ninja, Tfue, all of them going to Twitch, more kids discovering Twitch, them watching it. Twitch is just becoming bigger and bigger, and that's just where the money is right now.
right.
And that's why,
What I was trying to ask is though, like not just from the money perspective, but like
yeah.
from like a gaming perspective, as a gamer
Oh,
itself,
okay.
what is the kind of benefit as a gamer and as an entertainment kind of guy? Why should someone stream instead of recording? Like maybe if they don't want to be a
Oh, yeah.
YouTuber, why would they? Why? shouldn't they give their hand? Why should they give their hand at Twitch and that kind of stuff?
Because streaming is more interactive than recording. When you record something, you're not watching the people watch you. They're just watching it. Maybe they'll leave a comment, they'll leave a like, yada yada yada. If you're a huge YouTuber, you'll probably never read the comments. You'll never get through all of them. When you're streaming, you got your live chat right next to you. You can interact with your viewers. It makes it more entertaining. You can take suggestions, song requests, stuff like that. It's just way more interactive for the viewer and the streamer. It's just a better overall experience, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of today, like even like a lot of it is that like people you can also like now coming into the money perspective, you can make a good amount of money in esports.
Oh
It,
yeah.
that's never been a thing before, but it is now, and I think it's time people start realizing that
Hmm.
like even if you like because some people they enjoy it, but they are always like, oh, you're not going to get good money from me and stuff like that. Some of these esports tournaments are huge and they give a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've heard plenty about that Fortnite tournament that happened recently. I don't
Yeah.
think I need to speak much more on that. I mean, you see $3 million that a kid won. That's something. That's a huge pot, and that's mainly because the company is supporting it as well. They noticed, hey, we have a huge game. People want to make a competitive scene. Let's put our hand into it and see what we can do. And they created a massive pot. Kids are participating. They're getting sponsorships. They can make a living off of this. It seems kind of crazy that you're like 15-year-old middle school kid. You'd sit on his computer, potentially win hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right. It's different these days. Like if you want to go ahead, be a gamer, go ahead. And if you think you want to make a live if you want to make a living off it with time and effort, you can.
Yeah, it's then it comes to the problem of, again, a lot of people's parents looking at it from their generation's perspective. It seems crazy to them. It seems foreign. They think it's all just baloney that their kid, because most parents don't want their kids to sit in front of their TV screen playing video games for 10 hours a day.
Right.
But if you want to win a Fortnite championship, that's the kind of grind it takes. It's not easy to compete at that high of a level.
You
It
got to
takes
start
time.
small and then grow your
Yeah.
skill.
Yeah, I mean, it takes time and dedication, just like any other job. You're working your 9 to 5. Sometimes your kid's 9 to 5 is going to be sitting in front of the screen playing video games. If that's what he wants to do. That's his 9 to 5.
Yeah, but you also like even if you're a gamer and even if you have a high level of skill, honestly, in my opinion, you should also have a kind of balance that okay, maybe you do have a 9 to 5, maybe you're grinding, but even if it's your life, it shouldn't take up all your time where you're not going outside, you're not
Hmm.
seeing the real world
Yeah,
because you
it
have to have some balance.
actually does remind me of something. In the LCS, the League of Legends Championship Series,
Okay?
one thing that they implemented is so they can't practice for a certain amount of hours per day, and like I think they're required to actually get outside every day and work out. They are required to actually be outside. Like they don't want them to just sit inside their um player mansions or no, yeah, team mansions and just rot. They want them to get outside.
Yeah, because it's also because like it's not like gaming to everybody like and competing at such a high level. Sometimes it doesn't require the amount of hours that you think it will take.
Hmm.
You're not going to be occupied all the time 24/7. You'll have time to go out, you'll have time to meet your friends IRL. You have all that time to experience life.
Yeah,
But
some people like to stereotype the gaming community as just obese people, bad hygiene, don't care about themselves or their appearance. It's definitely not the case at all. I mean, I've met plenty of people who are, they care about their appearance a lot. They're very good looking. They're in shape. That stereotype, it's barely there at all.
I think that stereotype comes more again with like the older generation parents.
Yeah.
But I mean, like kids, like any kid listening in, you should me even if you want to be a gamer, even if you want to be a YouTuber, the most important thing should come your health first,
Yeah.
then what you enjoy.
Yeah, of course. I talked with a professional Smash player at a big event in April. His name is MVD. He's a top 20 player in the world. I talked to him about, traveling out of state for events, potentially going pro. And the number one thing he told me instantly was, you're 17-year-old kid, stay in school, get a degree, work on yourself. The game always comes second. Your life always comes first. And,
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that, like, with working on yourself, maybe as you grow as a person, maybe your skill may grow along with it.
yeah,
Like, sure, practice makes perfect, but doing too much of one thing could kind of negatively affect you.
yeah, it's always good to take a break.
There are also some of those people, who are rage quitters, and maybe, like, maybe they rage quit, but they need a break from the game, instead of grinding 24/7. Because maybe
Yeah,
early
that might
on
be
you're going
another.
to fail.
Yeah, that might be another reason for why the community gets a bad rap because that's what the media likes to publicize. That's what people want to talk about: the rage quitters, the drama, all that. People never want to publicize the good things about it. That's just the world that we live in.
That's just the world that we live in, but the world can always change and evolve, right?
I hope so.
Even I hope so. But, like, even if the media it doesn't change their perspective, at least the community itself knows what's good and what's bad.
Yeah, but it can be hard to gain outside support when everyone outside thinks of what the media is telling them. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Like, yeah, but sometimes some of these people, like some of these rage quitters, I feel like with the thing about rage quitters, what it comes from is that, some of these people, they put in too many hours, right? And sometimes they're not doing as well as they think because they are putting in a lot of hours, but it's not about the number of hours you put in.
Mm-hmm.
You could be like a really good player, but not put in as many hours as the person next to you.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Like, and the community's full of different people, different skill levels, stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right, now, like, how do you want to kind of approach, like, what esports, what do you want to talk about next when it comes to esports?
Mm, let's see. What have we covered? We've covered big, small, a little bit of financial.
Oh, I know something you can talk about, because you said you're an up and coming Smash player, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But you've met idols in your community.
Yeah. I have.
So, like, how does that feel?
Just
What's
like
the
meeting
kind of
them. You mean?
experience like?
Can you say that again?
But what's like, as an up and coming player,
Mm-hmm.
meeting your idol in your community? What what is it like?
Um. Well, for me at least, it's a little. Um. It's you get kind of curious. You want to try and hang around them. You want to watch them. You want to see what they're doing. You want to try and pick their brain as much as you can. Talk to them. Play with
Right.
them. Like when I first met, his name's Rada. He's from South Florida, so I only get to see him. Like I've only met him once, and that was at a big tournament in April. Like I tried to play with him as much as I could. Pick his brain, ask him questions, just hang out around with him as much as I could, just so I could communicate with him. Just figure out what he does that I need to start doing. You always want to find someone that's like a little bit better than you, but you can like compete with them. You just want to always ask for tips, just pick
Right.
their brain, figure out what you need to do to get better.
Speaking about getting better, I feel like another thing, especially, it doesn't even have to be playing with better people, but it's playing with different people and different play styles.
Yeah, exactly. That's what going out of region does for you. Central Florida is a region where people consider us. We have a lot of aggressive players in our region, and when I travel to South Florida, that's a region full of people that a lot of people play zoners there. It's a lot more of a campy region, so it introduces you more to that play style more, which is really good for me as someone who needs to know all play styles, especially in a game as big as Ultimate.
Right. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. I mean, we've covered the kind we kind of covered the stereotyping. We kind of covered big to small. We've kind of covered celebrities. We've kind of covered a lot. Um, I think at this point, I mean, I don't know. We don't want to end it just yet, but I mean, kind of going off of your experiences, right? And starting this, like, how would you go about telling people who are listening, like, how you should kind of approach entering a gaming community or entering esports?
Um, well, it really depends on the esport, and I guess from a competitive perspective, like if you want to enter, I'll take for example, like if you want to start getting involved in like competitive Overwatch, like I have a friend who's like on like a small little team, like in the upper areas of the ELO, of like the Platinum, Diamond, Master kind of ELO. They have like small little teams down there, but not like the Overwatch League big teams. They have like online teams. They'll scrim other teams in a little league that they made, and that can be. And there's like cash prizes in those tournaments. And it's a good way to start getting. It's a good way to get your name out there. It's a good way to start getting a feel for the competitive scene. It's the same thing in League. They have that kind of thing. And even in Smash, there's like Smash crews, and I'm in a crew, and we'll like Wi-Fi other crews. You'll have like a crew battle. So, for example, you'll have like a 5v5. Everyone has 3 stocks. You'll play it tournament style, and last crew standing wins. It's all individual. So you'll know if you did well. People will see the results. Might get your name out there. You'll get seated higher at tournaments. Maybe even a few sponsors will contact you if you get lucky.
Right. I feel like when it comes to some of, like, in my experience, some of the more passive games, like probably maybe Zelda, or in my field, Pokemon. What it comes to in Pokemon essentially is passive. Like Pokemon, everybody stereotypes as a kids game,
Yeah.
and some people never get past that stereotype because they don't see the competitive side and how much it takes in terms of numbers and memorization and strategy. It's a whole different experience. So if you think that Pokemon may not be a good game or a good, like, kind of esport community, even though that's what you like to do, maybe,
Mhm.
like, I would say do some research first on, like, the community you're entering, what the kind of skill level it takes, and what, like, the play style is kind of like before
Yeah.
entering a
And the
community.
and the best thing to do for someone aspiring to just, try to play competitively, just do it. Just enter the tournament. Go for it. I mean, first time I wanted to enter a Smash tournament was back in October for Smash 4. Ultimate hadn't even came out yet, but I was scared, so I didn't go. Then Ultimate came out, new game. I played it for like 2 weeks, and my friend finally convinced me to go to a tournament. And sure, maybe you'll do bad your first time, but it's your first tournament, so don't take it too seriously. Just keep going back and just try to focus on doing better and better the next time. Like the first time I went 0-2, which is, you just lose your first 2 sets and you're out. You play some friendlies and you go home. And the next time it's like, you know what? Maybe you'll go 1-2 or 2-2 today. Then you accomplish that. And then you want to do better and better. And then it's like, okay, maybe I want to be a ranked player in my region. And I ended up doing that in a few months. And I'm just climbing ever since then.
Yeah, and also, like, with your first tournament and not taking it seriously, take it, like, I guess to a certain degree, take it seriously since it is a tournament.
Well, yeah. I guess
But
what I meant. I guess what I meant is don't worry about like saying, "Oh, I'm gonna get like first or second today." Just do your best, and if you feel like you did your best, that's what matters.
even if you did your best, but if you, like, maybe for some of the more casual players, if you try out a league and you don't enjoy it, that doesn't mean you shouldn't play the game casually. You don't have to go into esports. You don't have to go into the competitive scene to enjoy a game.
Yeah. I guess also what I meant is like don't set unrealistic expectations, instantly. Don't go to your first tournament thinking, "Oh, I'm going to win without dropping a game" or something like that.
Even if you lose, don't let it ruin the experience of the game for you.
Yeah, it's all a learning experience. Take everything positively. If you lose to someone, maybe ask him, "Hey, you think I could have played this matchup better? Do you have any tips?" Always ask questions. That's the biggest thing to improvement. Always ask questions. Even if you think it sounds stupid to you, just ask it.
And like a lot of people think that monetizing something like YouTube comes easy. Like you can just start a channel and you can monetize. YouTube's now set standards for that. You kind of have to have like a certain number of followers. You have to have a certain number of likes and views and stuff. So it kind of gives you time to get used to being a YouTuber or being a Twitch streamer before you can actually monetize your content. So you have time to figure out whether that's what you want to do, if you want to continue that or not. You know?
Hmm.
with with the world and your parents' perspective, your perspective on everything, just give it time. That's like I guess what I'm saying when it comes to the whole esports thing.
Yeah.
Also, let's talk about something that I find interesting: changing metas in a game.
Hmm.
Like what like how like what is that like in a fighting game like Ultimate?
Oh, well, that usually comes through patches. I mean, when Nintendo wants to change the game, they'll nerf some things, they'll buff some things, and depending on what that is, the meta will shift. So, like right now, for example, the meta hasn't really changed at all. It's been all swordsmen. I mean, all specifically, Roy, Chrom, Lucina are all near the top. Um, just range is really good in the game. Being in the air, since the game is played so much in the air, it's a platform fighter. Um, in other games, like Overwatch is another great example of the limited amount of heroes that they have. The meta doesn't have too much room to shift, but they make bigger changes. They have reworks. They have a lot bigger and more impactful buffs and nerfs. You've seen you've seen Goats meta, which a lot of people really didn't like because it wasn't fun to watch. You had triple DPS meta, which for a lot of people was fun to watch because, well, it's explosive and that's what people want to see. But maybe it wasn't fun to actually play against because you die instantly.
Also, that's the whole different thing, like the entertainment kind of section. If you may not want to play a league or you may not want to join competitive, there's always a chance you may enjoy watching it or going and spectating a tournament or something like that, you know?
Yeah. Hmm.
Like I've always like I in the near in my area, like by New York City. In New York City there was this I think it was a League of Legends league or an Overwatch league, I forget, it was a while back. I wanted to go because like maybe I was not into those kind of fields or leagues, but like I kind of wanted to see what it's like to have a community and to attend a tournament and sit there and watch people play the games, you know?
Yeah.
Because you kind of get a nice feel from that, what it's like, you know?
Yeah. It's funny actually. About 2 years ago, I went to a big League of Legends tournament in Canada, and it was me, a friend I knew from Canada, and my dad. And I instantly knew because my dad was coming, he was gonna have no idea what was going on. So I tried to explain everything to him, and he actually caught on fairly quickly, and he seemed to enjoy it. So anyone can really get into it, even if you think how complicating your game is.
Right. Like it all comes with like just either diving in or something like that. And
Hmm.
even if it's not your specialized community or your specialized game, doesn't mean you have to rule out going to a different community's tournament or something like that. Like I'm in Pokemon, I didn't rule out going to a League of Legends tournament. It's gonna be a different experience, sure, but like it'll be fun.
Hmm.
And like yeah, there's not much else. I mean, it all comes down to enjoyment, playing the games you like, and just doing it at a certain point.
Yeah.
And if like for the kids listening into this, if you want to talk to your parents, I guess, about it, You can give if you want to talk about it. You can like some of the parents may say, "Oh, you're stereotype." They might stereotype that this is being unhealthy, or you can't sit in front of a computer screen for hours on end. Give it like I would say, parents and kids, anyone who's listening in, just give it a shot, but kind of focus on finding a balance.
Yeah.
Because even as a parent, if you may not understand what it is like to be a gamer or to have a competitive field, but you may understand what it's like to be healthy. At least give your kid a shot doing something that he is passionate about and that he enjoys. You work on finding a balance with him, and maybe he can grow as a person from either gaming and stuff like that. Because at least the most important thing is health first, then gaming.
Yeah, the biggest thing for kids obviously is, at least for kids my age, our age, is balancing wanting to go to tournaments and playing competitively with school, because school is obviously very important. It's not something you need to neglect. So my parents, as long as my grades are up to where they want them to be, I can go to tournaments. If they're not, I'm staying home and studying.
Right, and especially if you're a kid and you may think at middle school age that, oh, I'm gonna make a lot of money by going to a tournament. I don't need to focus on high school and stuff. You don't know exactly what can happen, and it's always good to have a backup option, like getting a degree and something like that.
Yeah, like I I wish I realized sooner, like how seriously I needed to take school. Because at least during my junior year, I kind of slacked off a little bit, and I went to too many tournaments. And next thing you know, I was on academic probation because I wasn't doing anything. I was just going to tournaments and playing too much. And I was being an idiot. So for all the kids watching, school first, guys. School first.
Yeah, and for all the parents watching, just maybe try not to stereotype it. All right, just don't stereotype what esports is like and what you've grown up knowing, because the world's changing,
Yeah,
and
but also
maybe
to them, give them a shot at it. Let them have fun. They're kids, but also monitor how they're doing in school as well. And if their grades are dropping, take them off. Let them give them some time to get their grades back up. Focus on that. But can also teach them time management, how to manage their time, because they want to get home. Maybe they'll rest a little bit. They'll teach them, okay, maybe I'm going to get all my homework done before like 7. And okay, it's like 6:30. Got all my homework done. Like, can I go to the tournament now? Like, it can teach time management, and that's a good thing to keep your kids busy.
right. And if you want to look, if and again, like Frank said earlier in the episode, some of these like big leagues, they have requirements where you have to go out for a certain amount of hours. You can't play more than a certain amount of hours. So maybe you can look that up and kind of restrict your kids on that. Like, hey, if you want to play, you have to just get accustomed to kind of this kind of a regulation and a restriction, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And just be open about it, kids, parents, just be open to what everybody and everybody's saying. Don't always listen to the media, because they like to portray the rage quitters, as we discussed. And who knows what can happen. I'm certainly enjoying my time as a YouTuber. I'm gonna grow into streaming soon, and I'm just looking to expand my horizons. Maybe not focus on one game, like Pokemon or Call of Duty. I'll expand my horizons eventually.
Hmm.
And honestly, if you're a gamer, one thing you gotta have, I feel, is Twitter.
Yeah.
That's something you guys need to keep in mind. Social media can be powerful.
Yeah, it can indeed.
Right. I think with 40 minutes under our belt, we can, if you want, we can end it here. If there's anything else you want to address, we can address that.
I think I've gotten through everything I can think of as far as I can see.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess with everything we set in mind, guys, just in the end, have a good time and stay healthy. That's it.
Yeah.
Because even in my junior year, I kind of slacked off too, and now I'm learning that time management is key.
Yeah.
Anyways, this has been the Hashtag Perspective podcast. My name is Raj. The guest today was Frank. Frank's links to his, I believe, his Instagram and his Twitter, and will be in the links below, and whatever else needs to my links will also be in the description below if you want to follow our progress on gaming and stuff like that, and maybe like see how we're doing, because we're both up and coming players. So it may be good to see how we're doing to get a good idea. I think that's about it, Frank. Yeah. So I'll see you guys on the next episode, and who knows, maybe later on down the line, you may hear from Frank again on a different episode in the future, and we can go back to how he's doing.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. It's been a pleasure having you, and it's been nice to have your kind of perspective shared to everybody else.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So with that, we're gonna get out of here. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye bye.